seated.
Hello, Your Honor. This is a case of Curtis versus Hall.
Thank you, Jerome.
You're welcome.
Good day, everyone. Miss Curtis, you have brought your mother, Miss Hall, to court today because you say she hid the identity of your father from you for 14 years. Now, today, there's a man waiting outside of the courtroom that your mother believes could be your biological father, yet you still have no idea if that's the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Hall, you admit you let your daughter believe that the man who raised her was her father, knowing that it was a lie.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you had hoped to someday tell her the truth, but a family member revealed your secret to her before you had the chance. Now, Ms. Curtis, how did you come to find out that the man you originally thought was your father was not your biological father?
My grandmother, she sat me down and she said that she wanted to tell me the truth about who my father really is to be, and that my mother has been lying to me for the past years of my life, which was, time was 14 years old, and that the man at the time was not my father. She said to me, I want you to take it to your grave if your mother never owns up and tell you yourself. And I said, okay. And I felt that it was the truth because I always felt like I was adopted. My father, he really never really showed me the affection, the love at all.
Actually, Your Honor, yes, I did not tell my daughter at a young age about who her father was. Simply, one, because I was a young girl. I was pregnant at the age of 15. I gave birth to her when I was 16 years old. When I was 15, I met Kirk. And Kirk lived pretty much like a fast lifestyle.
Okay.
And, you know, which attracted me to him. And being young, at the time when I got pregnant, I didn't even know that I was pregnant because I didn't know anything about the body.
You didn't know what it meant? You were just so young?
Yes.
And then what happens?
About a month passed by, and I would say I started my cycle. And I was like, oh, wow, you know, I was shocked. Okay, well, maybe I'm not.
I'm not pregnant.
I'm not pregnant. So, moving on, I wound up meeting another guy, which was the alleged father that I told her that was her father and allowed her to grow up believing that that was her father because that was what we had discussed. I wound up having sex with this guy, and later, a month and a half after that, that's when I found out that I was pregnant.
Okay, so you really weren't sure who the father was?
No.
All right, so Miss Curtis, when you finally confronted your mother and told her what your grandmother said, what did she tell you?
She began to tell me her own version of the story about who my alleged father at the time. She said, he's not really your dad, baby. And I said, okay, I already know that. My Nana already told me. She told me another name. She didn't tell me Kirk's name. She gave me another name. So I said, oh, I'm just so happy. I'm going to call Nana and I'm going to tell her that such and such is my dad. And then she goes, oh, no. I need to tell you the truth. I said, well, what is the truth? I thought you said such and such is my dad. She goes, no, really, your dad's name is Kirk. And I said, okay, I knew that too. I was just waiting for you to tell me the truth.
She admitted that that was true.
She admitted.
But gave you a third name.
Yes, Your Honor.
Wow.
Well, actually, Your Honor, I knew one day that I would have to sit up real down and talk to her and let her know who her father is. The time that I set forth for her was at the age of 16.
At the age of 16?
But
what if something was supposed to happen to me in between the times?
I was the mother. I was the one who took care of you, raised you.
You raised me, but I didn't have a father.
It did not matter whether you had a father or not, to me, because I was the mother. I was the one that was supporting you, keeping a roof over your head, and making sure that you went to school and you got the education that you needed.
Okay. I don't care what she's saying. I wanted a dad. I've always wanted a dad. You can be that mother. You can always be a mother in someone's life, but I still need my own father figure. It doesn't matter at all.
Miss Hall, can you understand how this news, it was like a bomb just dropped on her?
And I agree, Your Honor. But even with that being said, I always wanted Abril to understand that I was young. I made a mistake. I didn't want her to be a victim of that.
She wanted to live the rest of her childhood life through me. She wanted me to do the things that she wasn't able to do. I didn't even go to the prom because I don't know how to dance. I don't know how to do anything that my father should have taught me.
What I wanted for her, and I want her to understand.
She want me
is
to do what she wanted to do. She want me to do this. She want me to do that. Go here, go there with her.
You're a child, Abril. You are young. You don't make choices for yourself and do what you want to do when you're 14.
Father and daughter dance. Everybody else got to do it.
You did not want to go to father and daughter dance.
I didn't have a father to go to with.
I feel like she making this be more than what it is.
But no. Now, Miss Hall, before you start minimizing it, you got to listen to your daughter because she's telling you what she feels. This was an event that everybody I knew got to go to. It's called the father-daughter dance, and when she said it, my heart dropped to my feet because I've been to the father-daughter dance. I could only imagine everybody getting ready at school and chattering and talking about the father-daughter dance, and you saying to yourself, well, I guess that's somewhere I can't go.
Well, actually, Your Honor, she did have a father to go with at the time because I was married at the time with a father figure that was in the home. That's why I say
don't ask your daddy for nothing. Always ask me stuff because she knew in her heart that my alleged dad at the time wasn't my father. And she felt guilty, that's what it was. She felt guilty, and she wanted me to get all bonded and attached with him. Because at her time, when I turned 16, that's what she wanted to tell me. So I won't have a close bond with him. I won't be so hurt.
And so you never really felt that father-daughter connection with this man. So then you heard about Mr. Whitaker, and then you found him.
Yes.
Tell me about that. If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. So then you heard about Mr. Whitaker, and then you found him.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The same night that me and my nana, we had the discussion and we found out where he was, then I started to write him letters and everything.
Excuse me, Your Honor. When all the rumors and everything was speculating through the family, as far as like about the baby daddy mama drama that was going on, I found through a cousin of mine where he was in prison. I wrote a letter to Kurt in the prison telling him the things that was going on, and I was kind of nervous after I got through writing the letter. So I took the letter and I hid at my mother's house. Someone in the family found the letter, mailed it off, but at the time I did not even know that
you wrote it, but you didn't mail it.
That is correct. And then there was a letter that he wrote back to me.
What did it say?
I never got the letter.
She doesn't even know. I have the letter right here.
Jerome.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is the first time she'll ever see the letter.
He does state he's willing to be the father she needs and deserves. And it's signed Kurt.
And Your Honor, I know you may not understand how I feel about this right here, but that's where I feel like I was deceived and crossed because I had my time that I had set aside to do the right thing.
She wants me to be like, I'm the bad person, regardless of someone else having to come to tell me about who is supposed to be my biological father. You should have told me, don't wait a set and a time. You don't know what a child goes through day to day.
And I understand you have the right to feel the way that you feel.
Because of you and putting me through all of this, I don't want kids. I don't want to have kids because I want no possible chance that my kids have to live without a dad. I told you that when you said, what are you talking about?
And that's why I always have told you to make the right choices. And that's why I've always, Your Honor, she felt like through her whole childhood, I've been hard on her. Yes, I have been.
The reason why I understand is because you didn't want what happened to you, the decisions you made, you didn't want that for your daughters. Right now, I really do want to hear from your witness. Jerome, if you please could escort Mr. Whitaker into the courtroom, please.
Sure.
Mr. Whitaker, thank you so much for joining us. Now, do you believe you're Miss Curtis's father?
Well, Your Honor, I'm actually somewhat doubtful and having said that, is because the way the situation went down. When Tamika initially told me, hey, I'm pregnant, you're the father. But as I remember, she was also in a relationship with someone else. That was actually convenient for me, being that I was with somebody. So I mean, I'll take my part. Hey.
So you're saying she told you she was pregnant, you thinking to yourself, it could easily be someone else, not me.
Of course. The way it went down, when she told me that, she knew that the lifestyle that I was living, it was fast. I was making money fast. I had a lot of women coming at me saying, oh, I'm pregnant, and then only just to want money to spend it on whatever and just say, oh, I need the money for abortion.
I never asked you for any money.
I'm not saying she's asking me.
Never have I asked you for any money.
Right, so your point is that this wasn't the first time somebody said they were pregnant.
Exactly.
And in your mind, you were thinking, yeah, well, you might be coming after me because of this or that, and I don't truly necessarily believe it.
And not only that, is that she was in relation with somebody else.
At that time,
You see how they're both unsure and everything? Like, she don't know, he don't know. How am I supposed to expect and believe that he is my dad after being lied to for so long? It's hard to believe something after one lie and then another. It's hard to believe.
And you all understand how she feels, am I correct?
And I do understand.
In his letters, Your Honor, he was certain that I
Were
was his
you
daughter.
ever told definitively that you were not her father?
Yes, I was.
Now, when was that?
That had to been like a year or two later, but
and
after
who told you this, Kurt?
it was a friend, a mutual friend of ours.
I don't know who could have told him that, but that's just something he's saying.
And then 14
Right.
years later, I get a letter in the mail saying, hey, you have a child, along with a picture. And I'm like, okay.
And so when you see the picture, what do you think?
I'm like, looks like a mom, resembles a mom, I'm like, okay, this is my child. First it's not, then it is. I mean, what am I to think? If I'm the actual father, why would you give the child someone else's name and I'm the father? Doesn't make sense. You must have had intercourse with that person even for
And
that
that
to come
is
up.
correct.
So that
And
means you're
again,
not
Your
sure.
Honor-
You don't even know.
And Ms. Hall, look, you didn't really understand what was going on with your body, so you didn't understand at that time who you were pregnant by.
That is correct.
You said that. If you don't know, how's he supposed to know? There is doubt all over this courtroom.
I felt
That's
like
why we're here.
Well, Your Honor, but to me, if you ask me, both of my parents, they're really great compulsive liars, starting with my mom lying for all those years and my dad lying in all of his letters to me, all of his letters.
So wait a minute. While he was in prison, you got a letter from him.
Yes,
And
I
then
did.
you wrote him back.
Yes.
Explain to me, what
He-
happens in that relationship?
He wanted to know little things about me so he can get to know me through the letters. He promised me when he come home, he'll do things with me that he's never done. When he got home, he didn't do none of that, and he still haven't done none of that. I was trying to help him get out of the halfway house so he can come home and spend time with me. But he didn't want to do all that. He wanted to break everything that he said, spend less time with me so he can be with her. That's all they really care about.
Have you lived up to those promises?
Well, Your Honor,
No, that's a yes or no question. Have you lived up to those things?
No.
He was
Once-
using me.
I was not using you.
The
Once you-
Why do you feel he was using you?
Best time, but to have somebody to write to have somebody to talk to.
That's not
When
true.
you got a home.
That's not true.
Were you writing to her because you thought she was your daughter, or were you writing to her because you just passing the time?
It was not just a pastime. Of course, when a child that may be yours, you want to build a relationship. When you're not incarcerated and you're trying to get back into society, you're trying to work. Your
But
times
when
are conflicting. She goes to school, I have to
trying to
work.
help you get
Were
a
you
job.
telling
what
Miss
were you
Curtis,
doing?
I may or may not be your father? What were you saying? Because I have a letter here that says, I'm willing to be the father that she needs and she deserves.
Your Honor, when he first got out of prison, he went to the halfway house. The purpose of me trying to get him a job with my mom is so during his little break times, he can spend time with me. Around that time, it was the summertime for me, so there's no excuses of me having to be in school because I never had to go to summer school. I've always been a good student, straight A's, good at student.
So here's a young girl saying,
There's
Mr.
no
Whitaker,
excuse.
that I had my whole summer off and I tried to make arrangements so you could work, so you'd have some time to spend with me, but instead of spending that time with me, you spent it with my mother.
Well, that's not totally true. My work is demanding. I mean, and being that my work is demanding and I may not be able to spend time with her, it's been where she's been disrespectful. She's even claimed that I may not even be her father. I mean,
Okay, so wait, let's cut to the chase, because now you just brought up a point that is relevant. Do you believe this is your daughter?
I believe it could be my daughter. I believe it could be my daughter. How can I say when she was messing with other men and you give someone else another man's name?
like
I think it's time we have the results.
There you go, Judge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Curtis versus Hall, when it comes to 22-year-old Abrell Curtis, Mr. Whitaker, you are her father. Mr. Whitaker, Miss Curtis, how you feel, Miss Curtis?
I feel really good. I'm really happy to have my dad.
Oh.
I'm overwhelmed.
You are?
I'm overwhelmed, yeah.
Ms. Hall?
I'm happy for her, and I just want to see the best. I just want the best for her, and I want her to understand that, you know, mommy had to make some choices.
Well, you know what I think is wonderful about the truth? That the truth, I always say, is the most important foundation we can all stand on. Do you get it?
Yes.
I'm so happy you found your father. Good luck to you all.
Well, after leaving paternity court today, I have a lot of catching up with my daughter.
I need to look over what they've been through and try to go forward in my life now that I know the truth and everything about my dad.